Do you remember Tommy Quick from episode 9? The young stroke survivor who was just setting out to ride the second half of his epic 4 Points Australia ride to the foremost extreme points of the Australian mainland on a recumbent tricycle. All this to raise awareness and funds for the Stroke Foundation and to be an advocate for inclusion. Well, in Tommy's words, I'm back, baby. And after nearly 10,000 Ks, he's coming back into the studio with his good friend David Jones, who rode thousands of kilometres with Tommy to some of Australia's most beautiful, remote and often inaccessible parts, all in order to achieve his goals. This is an inspirational story. It's one that I love, and I know that you're going to love it too. I'm Andy Fiddle, and this is the Good People Podcast.
It's a tip of the cap, it's a pat on the back, it's a smile from ear to ear. They're the good people from round here.
Welcome to another episode of the Good People Podcast. My name is Andy, and it's brought to you by In Other Good News. Today in the studio, I've got a repeat offender. I'm very happy to have him back. You would have heard about him in episode 9. His name's Tommy Quick, and he's just completed his epic 4 Points ride around Australia. So I'm so happy to have Tommy back. In fact, I was very fortunate enough to have ridden with Tommy for the last leg, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And I'd also like to welcome to the studio David Jones, who has spent some time with Tommy on the bike ride. Welcome, fellas.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you very much.
It's such a pleasure to have you both back. Well, to have you back, Tommy, and to have you for the first time, David, in the studio. And we're going a bit of a double-barrel episode here. We've got two good people sitting here ready to tell the stories and the adventures, really, of what happened on this epic 4 Points ride. Now, I like I say, Tommy, I had the privilege of riding the last leg with you on the 22nd of October, which was somewhat recently, and we rode that very last section. It was very special. You had a group of people who joined in, and we all rode together into the Footscray Rowing Club. That was a great day, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was absolutely bloody fantastic.
Yeah.
It was not so much the distance, because I've had a few longer days, we could say, but it was special because everyone came out, everyone supported us, and it was to promote inclusion, which is something.
Yeah, and it was good for inclusion because you had, you had a few different types there. You had a couple of different types of bicycles there that were suited to other people, like you. So, for those who don't know anything about your escapades, Tommy, you riding on a recumbent trike, which is like a lay down bike. But there was someone there. I think they had cerebral palsy, and they were riding on an upright bike with special fittings and stuff like that. So, it really was including lots of different types, wasn't it?
It doesn't matter what type you ride; it's who you're riding with.
Yeah.
And, how close you can be to someone. We had, for example, the CEO from the Stroke Foundation, Lisa Murphy, rode a recumbent trike like me. She, her defense, she borrowed it from another friend in the stroke community, and Gabe had the upright trike, and it was really some worthwhile day, really worthwhile day.
It was a very special day. I was really honoured to be a part of it, actually, because just to see the people who wanted to come out and support you, and then that finish, beautiful finish, clap you across the line, hugs, there was tears. It was beautiful.
Yeah, for me, I had glasses on, but pretty much the 20-30 seconds from getting to across the line, I had tears in my eyes, but like I had glasses on because everyone would have seen me crying.
Yeah. we can't have war-hardened or battle-hardened Tommy Quick, who's just done his big ride, breaking down at the last minute.
Yeah.
How many Ks was it in the end, in total?
From my calculations, is 9,923. But I've got to go back at some point because it's going to take a while and recalculate to the pretty a little bit more defined and just double check.
Just double check, just in case that 10,000. You're close to a 10,000 mark there, which is 1,000 Ks further than you thought. Than it was advertised that it was going to be, right?
Yeah.
David, I want to bring you in here. This is important now. So, David, you're a guy that people won't have heard of in this journey necessarily because you've been very much behind the scenes. You've been in the mix from the start and before the start. You're a teaching veteran.
Yep.
You then went on to work at Vic Uni.
Yep.
In that time, you worked with Tommy's dad.
Yep, that's how I met Clive.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us a bit about, I guess, how you learned about Tom and then how you ended up getting involved in the 4 Points ride, which ultimately led you being there riding with him for a lot of the ride.
Yep. So I met Clive, Tommy's dad, when he retired from being a teacher and came to work with us at in the graduate teacher education program at Vic Uni, and I then got to know Rena and Tommy, and
So Rena's Tommy's mum.
Rena's Tommy's mum.
Yep.
And really got to know. Well, I sort of got an inkling of Tommy's determination to do things in life because when I first met him, I think he was doing the personal training course at Vic Uni, and he came one day and sort of ran a few of us through a personal training routine. He's made us work hard. and then got to see the video that was made about his Kokoda trip. I remember a group of us watched it at the uni, and you go, my God, this fella's something special. And then Tommy decided he would take on the Bachelor of Science course at Vic Uni, majoring in nutrition, and he hadn't done a lot of science before in his secondary education, so I kind of volunteered to help him out with a bit of chemistry, starting in first year. Vic Uni was very good in helping Tommy get through that in terms of allowing him to take longer than a normal time to do the degree, and gave him assistance in terms of note taking. And he also got, I got roped in to help him with a bit of tutoring, chemistry and biochemistry, and some other friends helped him. So you get to know someone pretty well when you're working with them like that. I got to appreciate Tommy's wicked sense of humour. And then when the harebrained scheme came up, which I think Tommy talked about in the first episode with his mate Hayden, then I kind of put my hand up and said, that sounds like a pretty good thing to get involved in. I like bike riding. And so, I got on board.
Fantastic. And so you were there. I mean, you've met Tommy inadvertently. You've heard about his Kokoda Trail story, which of course you did, Tommy, which is amazing for anybody. But there is a little mini documentary you can go and watch on that one. You heard about this and you said, when the idea was floated that you would like to ride around Australia on a recumbent trike, you were there in the mix and you formed a little group. which basically that was like 2019, right? The original idea.
Well, the original idea towards the end of 2019, Tommy, I think, and then it firmed up 2020, and Clive suggested we needed to form a little kind of group.
Yep.
And
So
form,
Clive's Tommy's dad.
Yep. 4 Points Incorporated. We became. So there was Tommy and Rena and Clive, Anna, an occupational therapist who's worked with Tommy over many years, and myself, and we sort of became the coordinating, organising group.
Yeah, it's really nice, and it takes a lot of work, doesn't it, to put this together?
Yep, it's hard to think about that now, but there were before, they even got out of Melbourne during 2021. Of course, COVID hit 2021, extra level of complexity.
Yes,
and but just leading up to that, during 2020 and then first half of 2021, there was a lot of work involved.
Yeah, a lot of logistical planning and stuff, and I guess you've got extra things to consider because you don't want to necessarily sit on the major highways if you can avoid it. You want to sort of find, and that causes some new challenges, doesn't it? As soon as you want to get off those main roads, you've got to find appropriate paths and trails.
Yeah, and I had a mate, Barry Miskin, who he and his brother have done a lot of riding overseas and in Australia, and they were really good, particularly post the accident, in helping plan the rest of the route when Tommy decided he was going to keep going.
Yeah.
And sort of focusing on the B roads, leaving the main roads away as much as possible.
Yep.
For obvious reasons. And so, that was, Barry's just one of the many people that assisted us along the way.
It must have been a lot. And so you can, if you want to catch Tommy's story and a lot of this, the trials and tribulations of the early part of your ride, you can catch that in episode 9 of the podcast. So make sure you go back and have a listen to that. It's a remarkable story. Didn't all go to plan initially, and COVID lockdowns and border crossings and all sorts of stuff. You ended up getting there. Now, the plan was originally, David, that you would join the ride at Steep Point, WA, at the very first point, and you would ride, but that didn't happen, right?
No, COVID intervened. The Quick family got out just before lockdown.
On wheels, yes.
And I couldn't get out. I mean, I tried a number of times. I don't know how many rebookings of flights there were. Because the idea was that I'd fly to Perth, meet them in Perth. We had a four-wheel drive generously donated to actually do the work from Steep Point out to the highway, because the ambulance wasn't gonna do that. And I just to go over that, Ambulance Victoria kindly donated an ambulance for us, and that became the support vehicle. So, but that wasn't going to work out in Steep Point, so we got a four-wheel drive donated, and I was going to drive that from Perth up to Steep Point.
Yep.
It didn't happen because I couldn't get there.
And so you ended up doing that with just your parents, Tom?
Yeah, I ended up doing, I never got to meet Dave at the SA Victorian border because, I was just got hit by the car. All that way through, there was like Dave said, rebooking and like conversations, and it was a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So you managed to do the Western Australia right across to, it was about the Barossa, wasn't it? With your parents, and then we had Dave, who was supposed to join the South Australian Victorian border
because the border just opened up.
Yeah, so you were able to do that, but then the car accident, and there was a phone call.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell who's the best to tell us about the phone call?
Well, Tommy can barely remember, but
I was on drugs.
I was there sitting on the couch, I don't know, watching the news or something, and got the phone call, and we had a few phone calls during the time, as Tommy was saying. We'd still keep in contact about how the ride was going, and got the phone call. Oh yeah, it's the Quick family, right? And I get Tommy speaking to me, and I couldn't quite understand what he was saying. And the day before, I think he'd posted about having a sore leg, and I thought, he's a bit tired and his leg's a bit sore. So I made a cracked a joke, say, "Hey Tommy, your leg's a bit sore there, mate. I can't quite understand you." And then all of a sudden, Clive comes in and says, "No, Dave, Tommy's actually speaking to you from the hospital bed in the Royal Adelaide Hospital." And I've gone, "What?" And so then I found out what had happened.
Now, you'd been hit by a car, Tom.
A buddy Holden Commodore.
Great Australian dream, but not your Australian dream. You've ended up in hospital with some pretty severe injuries. Has that ever been resolved? The accident side of things?
Not really. It definitely hasn't been closure. Don't want to go into too much detail, but the driver stopped. He had a conversation with Mum, unpleasant words. And then he broke down, and so a few months later he went to trial. Didn't appear the first time, appeared the second time. The judge said I was unfit to represent himself, so they sent him away to get someone to represent him, and he was meant to show up for the third time, and for them to hand down the sentence. I'd done a victim impact statement, VIS, and he never showed up.
He just didn't show up.
So the policeman issued a warrant, and he hasn't been found since, and it's been pretty much a bit over a year since that. And so, I guess the moral of the story is I kind of want closure.
Yeah, closure, because it severely impacted you, both physically and mentally, right?
Yeah, for a long period of time I had PTSD, and I was angry, not at the world, but just angry, and and physically now I'm a lot less mobile walking, but I'm a great rider.
Yeah. Now, you said you're a better rider.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to toot my own horn, but yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty good. Yeah. So that obviously was a huge setback, and for you to get back on the bike and to get yourself, like I say, physically in shape, but also mentally in shape with the fear of roads and all that sort of stuff. That's a huge effort. And I know that the Wilson's prom section was a bit of a test, just to sort of see if you could...
Test drive, yeah.
Yeah, see if you could get back on that. I'm glad you did. Now, when we spoke, that was done.
Yeah.
And you were just about to leave Melbourne to head north up to Cape Byron and then to Cape York. And it was a bit of a celebration and a big farewell and good luck, and then you've gone and done that. So you've gone and achieved this, but there was a few challenges along the way. And if without digging up old memories, can I refer to day one? You're leaving Melbourne. Can you give us the executive summary of how day one went?
I'll give the really brief my version, then I'll give it to Dave or Amber. But we've ridden 33 Ks on bike paths, pretty good roads. Like there's a bit of infrastructure that they could do better. Anyway, we're not talking about infrastructure. And like get on the open roads. We do the first roundabout in Epping Road, or is that
David calls
Epping
it.
Road.
Epping Road.
Epping Road. Sorry,
Yeah.
got that wrong. Epping Road. Go the first roundabout, fine. Second roundabout, like I'm giving way, or something that happened, and a guy, buddy, like tells me get off the road.
Get off the road. Yeah.
In unpleasant wording.
Yes.
And I essentially lose my shit for the next 13 to 17 Ks. Get off the trike. I'm like, I'm never doing this again. And yeah.
It was pretty scary. Pretty soon after it happened, because my position is generally riding behind him, and just checking out. And we've got the support vehicle behind. We've got communication, two-way communication. And anyway, pretty soon after that event where the abuse happened, Tommy did get a bit angry.
You got angry.
And he started going out into the centre of the road, like yelling. I can picture that. He was not happy. So I kind of got up behind him and said, let's get off the road, Tommy. And he got off the road, and then Clive and Rena pulled up in the sport vehicle. Pretty much we decided, well, we're not going to get to Wandong. I think we had another, 20K? 19K to go to get to the overnight stop in Wandong, and we just said, we're just packing up. Like, it was late in the day.
Call it a day.
It was late in the day. It was a mizzle. We just had that shocking behaviour by that driver, which, we can talk a bit more about some shocking behaviour by drivers later on. But that was amazing, because we got to Wandong. We had a nice night, even though the Quick Families team, the D's, did get beaten by Brisbane. And that we were watching that in the Wandong pub.
Could this day get any worse?
But the magic thing, and this is the thing about Tommy Quick, next morning, it's a new day, the sun's shining, no rain. We go back to where we start, and it was a great day. We had the wind behind us, the sun's out. Tommy's mate Buster, who's helped a lot with the filming, was there. Just a great day.
And that bit's what I love. And I think that's the big sort of the essence of this story, isn't it? It's your resilience and the ability for you to get it back together once you've come across these hurdles along the way. You've had there was a few challenges for you, wasn't there, along the way? Now, we probably need to give a bit more history. How many kilometres did you ride in total with Tommy?
I think it's around 2,700
2,700
yeah.
Of the almost 10.
Well, are you disputing that,
Tommy's
Mr. Quick?
disputing it.
What do you reckon?
Yeah,
I can show you the calculations, buddy.
All right.
Anyway, let's for now. Well, that's what I reckon it is.
Somewhere there.
So I've done about like a quarter of it, and he's done pretty much 7,000 by himself. He's had some others ride different stages, but pretty much 7,000 K. Amazing. And so that's what I've done. And I did that. We did the trip from Mariba, just outside of Cairns, to Cape York, which we can talk about. Definitely the biggest adventure of my life, I can tell you. And I'm an old fella, so I've had a few adventures. Yeah. But that was the biggest. And then that last bit from just outside the Barossa, where he was hit, to Melbourne. Yep.
And also you did
the prom
from Melbourne to the prom and Melbourne to
how long?
Yep.
Yeah. So a few stints. But you touch on a very good point there, in that for most of it, Tom, you're doing it on your own. And I said this to you recently, David, that if you picture one person on a bike in the middle of nowhere riding along with the size of Australia as the backdrop, it becomes quite incredible. Like it it makes you feel quite small, I guess, in comparison. It's a long way to do that on your own. Did you find that hard, Tom, doing that on your own?
I want to say yes and I want to say no, because like if I rode for say 6 hours with lunch breaks on an average day, like every hour would be different. Every hour would be different. Like 1 hour, I'll be super happy because I'm flying and getting things done. I'm like hitting PBs and stuff. And the next hour, go get off, have a nature break, and get back on. Like totally different ball game. Like almost as if I've got bipolar.
A lot of time on your own, and it's not. That's actually a good bit to touch on. Is that it's not simple. You don't just jump off like an able-bodied casual rider on a mountain bike. You just step off your bike. You don't just simply step off your bike. You got to lock in, and you got a few aids in place as well, don't you?
Yeah, like cane. Like my first thought is like it's a long time ago. First like is like just my parents getting out of the van because they were support crew, and they come over if I'm busting for a piss. And they'd have to unclip me, especially after the crash. And then I'd get up, they'd either pass me the cane or I'd use their arm, take a few steps, get into position.
Yeah,
and like that. There was a whole process. That accumulated time.
Well, and I witnessed this on our last leg when we had that one bit where we had to go under a thing and you had to completely dismount and get over. And that takes time and energy and that to make that happen. So you're on your own and you're pedaling kilometre after kilometre, which is, I find this really quite amazing because I've ridden some distance and it can be a pretty lonely place out there, right? Like, did you have music and stuff to keep you company, or?
I had music and podcasts, and the music got a bit repetitive.
Yeah, I bet.
But the podcasts were really because of my interest into nutrition. I found that and it was interesting, and
which we didn't cover in the first podcast because I only just realised you had a degree in nutrition. Yeah, which is what, of course, is how you met with the tutoring and that sort of thing. So let's talk challenges. You've left. Well, actually, no, I'm going to touch on another part. You had a goal. Do you want to tell me about the goal you had for hitting the northern point? So we'll say we've reached Cape Byron. You've done, I'd say this dismissively like it's an easy thing, but you've done Cape Byron and you're heading north. David, you're back on in the journey. And then, Tommy, you had a goal which was in alignment with a milestone birthday.
Yeah, so don't know where to start. I'm thinking back, I'm thinking forward. Yeah, like it was about the 20th so we left on the 14th of July.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and about 2 days into the ride, I was thinking, what ifs? And I was like, maybe we can reach Cape York on my birthday, my 30th birthday.
So Cape York, the northern point, and you want to try and get there for your 30th birthday.
On August the
2nd.
That's right.
And
he says that like you don't remember your own birthday.
I do, all right?
He don't.
Just temporary problems. And yeah, so like a goal was creeping into my mind, and yeah, and we actually made it on my 30th birthday, and I guess I would like to highlight that is you've just got to break down goals. We had the bigger goal, which was almost circumnavigate Australia.
Yep.
But then it's a day-to-day basis. It's a small goal kind of attitude.
Regular small goals.
Yeah.
And this is both the strength and the inspirational part of the Tommy Quick story, is the way you've been able to break it down into day-to-day goals. I know that I want to come back to the roads in a minute, but while we're talking Cape York, you got there, you got to the car park in Cape York through some tough terrain, and you got there. Do you want to tell us about how easy it was to get from the car park right at the tip of Australia, just over yonder, to the actual tip of Australia, where the tourists will go and stand there and take their photos? Do you want to tell us about that section?
Yeah, that was a very emotional, one of the, probably for me, I know you finishing on last Sunday was emotional, or Sunday the 22nd, but when we got to the car park, Tommy comes in, I come in, and we'd ridden, through a pretty rough road with some beautiful spots in it.
To put perspective, it took for 30 k's. It took almost 5 hours.
It was a pretty rough old road, with a beautiful bit towards the end through this rainforest, which was, because one of the things that I keep telling Tommy is that I'm actually his MAM advisor, and people go, what MAM? So, MAM, mindfulness and meditation. It's something it's work in progress with Tommy. But we were going through this beautiful tropical rainforest with some huge potholes, but at least the road's smooth when you avoid the potholes and the raging river that we had to cross. But then we get out of that and we're a bit more savanna and dry savanna. Then we're into the car park. Tommy's made it. Not quite, but he's made it to the tip. And Clive and Rena pull up, and then Tommy's release, it's just this huge emotional release, and he's in tears, and he's just, it was beautiful.
It's a massive moment.
It's a massive moment. And so I gave him a hug, and Rena gave him a hug, but I had to remind Tommy when I was hugging him, I said, mate, you still got to get there. So he just pointed to the tip.
Now, at this point, how far's there? In distance?
It's a couple of K. It's a couple of K.
Oh, so it's a kilometre? Okay.
Yeah, it's a couple of K.
Okay.
But it's over a headland. Able-bodied people over the headland. They're there in half an hour or less.
Yep.
For Tommy, we decided, no, that was probably just a little bit bridge too far. Wait till the tide drops, go out in front of the mangroves to a smaller headland, and we're there.
Yep.
But that is, as it turns out, an hour each way. And, I think I said to you before, it was a beautiful thing for me to witness when we got past the mangroves on the sand and we're climbing over this headland, for Clive helping Tommy up there. Rena's taking photos.
Yeah.
The Quick family in operation.
Yep.
This, the unwavering support from his parents and Tommy's unwavering determination.
Yeah.
And we get there, and it's just fantastic. We're there. And Tommy gives a beautiful little talk to his people, on the camera, and it's done. But then an hour back. So we get, same thing, we've got to go back. Sun is setting when we get back to the car park.
Yeah. So you get all the way to the car park and you're within, it's so close. But then you had to dig deep again to hike an hour through conditions that are not favourable, so that you could get to the actual point. So I'd imagine, I'm not sure if that emotional release in the car park was helpful.
To be honest, I was glad to be off the bike, off the trike.
Off the trike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, that's good. So you got there, and was that like a magical moment at that point?
I think in the car park, that was the real release, because like I then had to walk, like it was about 700, 800 meters one way, and like I was like, yeah, that only take an hour. Like you get breaking down those small goals. So I've beaten the bigger goal, then I just had the small
Then
goal.
you had the small one to go. So that wasn't the only challenge you faced. Even getting there, and you're talking about that sort of that peninsula section, you encountered a bunch of different, well, I guess ordinary conditions, right? How were the roads up there?
My words, shit house. What are yours, Dave?
Yeah, look, half of it, nearly 1,000 k from where we started, just outside Cairns in Mariba, to Pajinka, the top. It's nearly 1,000 k, and half of that is on very, very rough road.
When you say rough, describe rough for us.
Go on, Tommy, you describe it.
All right, so here's the picture. So you're rolling over a corrugation, just one corrugation or two. We'll take it two. And like, you know how you've got waves, like rolling waves in the ocean.
Yep.
And it's like they're probably about this, from highest to lowest, they're probably about a foot, if like worst case scenario, probably like half a meter deviation, like from
between the top and the bottom of a corrugation.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it was probably not.
No, might have been half a metre, but, you know, and look, you know, we're trying to pick our way through, which is a real, and, you know, Tommy got really good at that. I mean, you know, I'd try and pick off a bit, and Tommy would go, no, you're not good at this. I'm going to do this. So, and we ended up with these side tracks, which are fantastic when you're, you know, the cars were using them, trucks were using them to avoid the corrugations. When we got onto them, trouble is you couldn't tell where the sand was hard and where it was soft.
Yeah.
So we'd start off and we're screaming down these tracks. It's fantastic. And then all of a sudden, because particularly the trike, would come to a screech and halt, and the wheels covered with sand. So I got very good at pushing him out of sandbogs.
Right.
Yeah.
A bit of extra physical.
And also, I just want to point out, Dave and another rider who joined us, John, who sadly was a victim to
The roads, yeah.
to roads and corrugations. Like they've got like essentially one wheel to follow. I had 3 to follow.
Yeah, okay.
So like,
Yeah.
just.
And so, I mean, do you want to talk about the challenge that John faced?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So we're saying the roads were often at times not very good, and you did find some tracks, but those tracks sometimes would surprise you with some deep sand. So you're helping him push. What about the traffic?
Okay. Well, we amused ourselves a lot of the time by grading the drivers out of 10.
Okay. How courteous they were.
How courteous they were. And look, most drivers, they were getting 7 to 10. They were, fantastic.
Okay.
But
What's that mean? Give you plenty of space?
Yeah,
slow
give
down?
us slow down.
Yep.
Give us plenty of space.
Headlights.
Cheer us.
Headlights.
Headlights, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
As
Okay.
the dust that's,
Yeah, dusty, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And, like it's just a no-brainer. Put your headlights on. But, there's a few people that weren't using their brains, and they would not get a very good grade.
They weren't getting a good score.
They'd come
Rating.
too fast past us. They would occasionally, we had copped a little bit of abuse.
Oh, they're yelling at you as well.
Which even me, mild-mannered myself, did actually vent on at least 1 or 2 occasions, because that was just shocking, dangerous. And but by and large, just the generosity of people up there was fantastic, because not only were they slow down, applaud us. They'd stop. Sometimes further on, hand some cash to Clive and Rena
For the cause.
for the cause.
Yeah, that's unreal. Because,
So-
of course, you are, sorry, just to interrupt you there, but you are, of course, all of this, you're raising money for stroke awareness.
Yeah, the Stroke Foundation. That's the 4points.org. Just slip that in right
The
there.
4points.org, yeah.
And it's to highlight that stroke happens at any age. Like 32% of all strokes in Australia will be under the age of 65.
How many, what percent?
Like 32%.
32% under 65.
Yep. So
Mm.
like in Australia we have what is it? It's about 124,000 people living with stroke in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, so your bike ride, part of the goals for that was to help raise awareness for stroke. So these people you're meeting along the way, they're learning about stroke, they're seeing a champion in action, and they're also passing the hat around, you said at times.
Yeah, we had some great moments of generosity. One of the stations we stayed at, the station stays, the guy who was running that not only donated us cabins to stay in, so we got to not putting up the tents or sleeping in the van, but also allowed us to pass the hat around at the meal because we'd booked in for the meal. Was there about 80 people there, Tommy? 100 people?
100 people and everyone chipped in, like big or small, and like that's really what it is.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Like $5 is
Yeah.
$5.
So country, charm and generosity.
Yeah, and there's a lot of grey nomads on the road.
Yep.
And that event, there were a lot of grey nomads, and they put the money in. They were great.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, the generosity of people by and large just was amazing. So I think that applies to the whole trip. So
Now you guys, if you haven't picked it up already, listeners, these two guys have got a bit of a bond. There's a bit of banter going on here, on and off the camera, and you've spent a lot of time together in the saddle, so to speak.
Too much.
far too much.
Although you're probably having withdrawals now, are you?
No.
Although you're still hanging out for coffee. So.
Yeah.
I want to talk about another comrade. While we're talking about challenges, I want to talk about another comrade of yours. His name's John.
Mhm.
He's making somewhat of a documentary about the whole.
He's going to help with the documentary. He's a filmmaker, lectured before he retired from uni in filmmaking and documentary. Expert.
Yep.
Lovely fella.
He came along.
He and I were doing a bit of riding before. He hadn't done a lot of long distance, but joined me on some of the training rides, and then out of the blue one day said, "Hey, I reckon I've retired now. I've finished my PhD. I reckon I might want to come along."
Mm.
So we flew up together to Cairns, and he used an unfamiliar bike, which was your auntie's bike.
And a borrowed
Which
bike.
had been travelling with them. Clive every now and then would get on it, but not that often. Apparently.
Yeah.
And so we got that. We got new tyres for that in Cairns and set off, and and that was all going well. There were a few hiccups with bike issues, but then we get about 800k, along. We're only about 150k from the top, and John was doing a lot of the filming. Tommy would instruct him when he wanted some filming
Directing.
done.
Yeah.
So I'd say, "Hey, you." So John stops, takes GoPro out, and his flash little Apple thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, using brand names. This happened once. Just like normal. We're off in front. We've left. John's packing up, putting it on the bike to catch us. Clive and Rena are behind. They lose sight of him. We lose sight of him. And then they come over a hill. Clive and Rena come over a hill, and they just catch a glimpse of John running to the side of the road. His bike's on the side, running to the side of the road, holding his right arm and lying down, in a lot of pain.
A lot of pain.
And so what had happened, he'd taken off, catching up to us, hadn't seen a spare wheel that had fallen off a vehicle, was in one of these deep corrugations that Tommy's talking about. Bang, into it. As he's falling to his right, puts his hand out to brace, and compound fracture on his elbow.
So shatters his elbow on a random wheel that's lodged in a corrugation on the road.
Yep.
Middle of the road.
Middle of the road.
Mm.
Jesus. And then, so what happened then? He's dragged himself off to the side of the road.
Yep, and Clive and Rena are onto it, first aid, because we all trained in first aid. I mean, I trained as a teacher in first aid, but we refreshed ourselves before the event. So they were onto it. But then we had some lovely Good Samaritans stop and helped us as well. But then, Tommy, you can talk about what John says to you as he's lying there with the space blanket on him.
Yes, to set us up here, Tommy. He's lying on the side of the road.
And like the first, well, there was a few things, but the first thing he said, this would be great for the documentary. So, I can't remember if it was I think it was his phone, and we just recorded the filming, let it roll. He got me behind the light because I'm a novice when it comes to filming, but now I'm alright. And just, it was quite amusing. It was really amusing.
And what did he actually say to you then?
To be
Something
honest,
about
like,
this is interview me now, Tommy.
yeah,
Something like that.
This is the good stuff.
yeah, I can't remember exactly what he said, but
He's so committed to the cause that he's lying there with a shattered elbow and he still makes you film him for the good stuff.
yeah.
I find that pretty funny. And that's, I mean, you blokes seem to be birds of a feather. He's there for the filmmaking at whatever cost, and you're there for the distance and the journey to the 4 points. So poor old John's fallen off and he got airlifted out, didn't he?
Yeah, we got the chopper. And again, we had some Good Samaritans there. It was a carload of RAF people just happened to be on the day off from Weipa. They got on to Weipa. They got on to the emergency services. We had the chopper from Thursday Island because we're a fair way up, near the tip. And took 3 hours.
3 hours, and one of those hours took an hour to essentially get contact, because you know how the iPhones say they do SOS calling and stuff. Well, they don't. Not everywhere.
Not
everywhere. And so we luckily the RAF people stopped because they had a satellite phone. But even then, it was a weak connection.
Right.
Really weak connection.
So it took ages to even get a phone call through.
Yeah. And then, I reckon it would have taken the same amount of time for that call as the helicopter to get from Thursday Island to the actual location.
Yeah.
And at the same time, almost same time as the helicopter arrived, the ambulance from Bamaga, which is one of the main towns, probably the main town closest to the tip, came as well. So we had the ambulance and the chopper arrive. So he was in good hands.
Once they turned up.
Yeah, once they turned up.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough, poor fella. And you said he's only sort of just coming good now. It's taken a long time to get over that.
Yep. He's just, we had a meal the other night, and it's amazing that you can't see much of the scar. He's got the splint off. He can't quite pick his nose yet. But, it's it's amazing.
Yeah.
And what was interesting, of course, was that the quality of the medical service that he got on Thursday Island was fantastic. The doctor there was brilliant, apparently.
Yep.
And then realised this was, he had to get to Cairns. So another chopper to one of the other islands where there's an international airport. Then the flying doctor service took him from there to Cairns. 6-hour operation the next day.
So he did a good job of it.
Yeah.
Jeez, he did a real good job of it. Now, he was there on Sunday. On the Sunday when you rolled up, he was there still getting some footage with his good arm or something, I think. So it's good to see that he's back on track. Now, something I witnessed, we only rode on that last leg, and I say only, it was 25 odd kilometres.
29.
Was it really 29? It was, let's say, 29 kilometres for that last leg with a group of people. We encountered some paths which were fantastic through some sections that I've never seen before, which was lovely. We also did some more challenging sections. And how would you rate, can I throw a couple of people under the bus here? Because on that day, there were at least 2 people, one younger and one older, people that cramped up so bad on the day, right? They got bad cramps, so bad that the whole party waited for a good 10, 20 minutes or whatever it was for everyone to catch up so that we could all finish together. Now, one's your mate, and I won't throw him under the bus by name. You can if you like. But my point to this is that that was, in comparison to some of your rides, that wasn't too bad that day. And yet it wiped out a couple of people. They were ruined from the challenge of that bike ride that day through the paths and the mountain bike style riding that we did that day.
Yeah. To be fair, the mate who's referring to, like Andy, I won't name names. But I will say he was in high school with me.
Yeah.
High school year 12 with me.
Yeah.
So it's a close friend, and I'll share this directly to him. But he played footy, and he got similar effects from playing footy. So I'm not sooner logic or whatever.
Yeah,
he'll work it out. He's a PhD student, so he'll work it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other person who had to be, she came joining with us for the last section, was absolutely phenomenal, brilliant. But the bike path, which the section she couldn't do it, that was really poor, but I don't know whose fault it is.
Well, we the big flood on the Maribyrnong almost a year ago.
Yeah, almost a year ago.
Has that section towards Brimbank Park end not been fixed up?
Hasn't been fixed.
So that is not good enough. That's all we'll say.
It certainly makes it hard to get through there. For some of us, it was a great adventure. I brought my youngest son along, and we had a great time on the mountain bikes through there. We thought it was really good. And I guess the point I want to make about this is that that day with that group, compared to some of the days that you've had to do, wasn't as hard as some of the other ones. But it was still really challenging for people just to come along. We called it the nice little short leg home to finish. But it was actually for a lot of people, and we're talking able-bodied people of relative fitness and health, they still struggled with the ride to get through that for the whole day. And you've been doing it for almost 10,000 Ks.
How many days, Tommy, have you figured out you've actually been riding?
It's either actual riding where I'm on the bike is either 175 or 176.
Right.
Actual
riding days. And that's taken you through all sorts of places. You then went back. So we got to the tip. You got up to the tip and you celebrated that, but then you made your way back to South Australia, didn't you?
Yeah. And we actually, now I think about it, we actually drove past the crash site.
Oh, did you?
And to be frank, when you chest rises and your heart races and like you're having a panic attack. I actually had, I'd had some on the journey going up to Cape York and stuff and all that. But then was probably the last panic attack was pretty. It was a bit overwhelming.
I bet it was.
Yeah.
Did you? I mean, is that where you just decided to start again, or did you just?
So we started off because that was on the where I got hit was on the dirt highway, and so we backtracked about 2 k's to Granick Road, and we started from there. So
Yep.
So
Yeah, and then you made your way consistently without incident, I believe, all the way back to Melbourne, and you've now completed the 4 points ride. Do you has that sort of sunk in yet? I mean, you're off the bike. I mean, your bum feels better, but and you're not on the bike every day.
quads feel better.
Quads feel better, but has it sunk in what you've achieved?
I think it's so tough because you don't know when it's gonna sink in or if it's sunk in or stuff. But like the emotion of both the Cape York car park and the finish line, that drew emotion from me, and that was certainly a good feeling or a happy feeling or whatever feeling that you're feeling at the time. But I do feel proud of what I've done. But again, I'm just like the point that I wanted to make was like stroke happens at anyone at any time. And so I wanted to do that, and I wanted to promote inclusion. Yeah.
And you've certainly done that. And what you've done, whether you realise it or not, is you've shown that the power of the mind can help you overcome a lot of things. There is a special word, Dave, actually, that you used to describe the type of disability. What was the fancy word you used?
Okay, well, hemiplegia, or Tommy is a hemiplegic, which, when I say that, people go, "What? What's that?"
Yeah, what does that mean?
So, Tommy, you can explain.
So hemiplegic is one side of the body from essentially your top of your skull to your bottom of your toe. One side is paralyzed or
not functioning very well.
Incomplete.
Yeah. So basically, you rode almost 10,000 Ks through somewhat pretty tricky conditions at times with pretty much one good leg.
Oh, the other one got a bit into it.
Got a bit in?
Yeah.
But like predominantly my left side, and when I was going through the corrugations, literally every third corrugation, so rolling little hills, and every third, I'd be sliding down on my bike because it's a recumbent trike. I'd slide down, and my left leg would have to push straighten up, slide my bum back up.
Yeah.
And it was
So constant readjusting through that section.
Yeah. I mean, I've only got on that trike just a couple of times to move it a few meters. Now, I'm just pushing with both my legs.
Yep.
And, it's an effort. So just thinking about Tommy riding that trike, 10,000 K, as you said, over some pretty tough terrain, up some pretty tough hills, into some pretty strong headwinds on this last leg, I tell you.
Yeah.
Like, anyone want to have a go at that? Like, just tying one leg so you can't use it and just use one leg, push in a trike. You see, get some idea of just what an amazing feat it is.
Yeah. Well, the whole leg.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole leg.
Not just the foot.
The whole leg. Not just the foot. That's right.
I don't want to toot my own horn.
No, but you're going to. I'm still waiting for it. I'm waiting for the horn to. I think that's amazing. And also to you, David, I think it's a very generous use of your time. I think it's fantastic that you spent so much time with him because, I mean, that's 2,700 odd Ks that he wasn't riding alone. And I imagine that has helped a lot with your motivation, your MAM consultancy or whatever you called it.
That's work in progress, Andy.
That branding isn't released yet. But that's so I commend you as well because I think that's fantastic. And all the crew, all the crew that got behind the ride to make it happen. It's Tommy can't go and do it on his own, although you did the cycling part mostly on your own. That support crew and all the Ambulance Victoria and
probably the one thing that you need a supportive network. So, that's all I need to say. Really.
Yeah,
you need a supportive network.
I think it's fantastic. So, congratulations, both of you, on the ride, and Tommy for the milestone. You're a one to watch, Tommy. Like, you're a change maker, and I hope that people realise this. And listening to this podcast, I hope they've taken a moment to sort of understand how hard it actually was what you did. Because it's easy for us. We drift in and out of social media, and you see, maybe I saw it, maybe I didn't. Oh, that seems good. Or, like Tour de France, you blink, it's over. They ride 3,000 Ks, whatever they ride. But, it took you 2 years, basically, including a major accident and, doing it mostly with only, functional one side of your body. I think it's absolutely fantastic. What is on the cards for the future? Have you got anything planned? Like, are you going to be roping in crew for something else epic or?
If I was taught, if I got money for every time that question's been asked, I'd be rich. Yeah. I would be.
And these guys that need psychiatric help for the plans that you got, mate. Where's this Hayden fella? Make sure he's not around, otherwise you're gonna be.
Well, he's going to Amsterdam and he's living the best life there, but he is using his bike more often. So, and because Amsterdam's the capital of bikes.
And do you have any bike adventures planned? Is that anything you want to do?
So this is not locked in. Just maybe we're on a hiatus, but we may do Tasmania. May. Emphasis on May.
You're doing Tasmania in May. Okay, lock that in, everyone. Tommy is doing Tasmania in May.
No. In 5 years.
Well, it was 5 years turnaround for this one. So, Tasmania can be pretty hilly. It might take a while to get around.
But that'll take a month, max.
Yeah.
That's just something in the back of my mind. Right now, I want to make a career out of myself, working in the space of public speaking or consultancy work around inclusion, advocating for disability, stuff, or taking my film career to a whole new level.
Really? What's your film career at now?
Level
what?
Level 0.
Right. So a whole new level could be level 1.
But that
then you go to level 2.
But that documentary, that's going to take a while
to put together. Yep.
Yeah. So Buster and John are on board with Tommy, and who knows who else.
But again, we're just thinking about mulling things over, and maybe a book.
Yeah, if you have a documentary, you've got to have a book to
Gotta
go
have a
with.
book.
Yeah.
So he wrote me into that.
Yeah, there you go. So you got a few
Yep.
things. You got a few
Yep.
things to do.
Yeah.
And look, he's got some good people who can help him with the book. That one of the fellas that rode with us on two of the occasions is Heath Ryan, who's endurance cyclist who has written a few books, and he'll offer Tommy some advice on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Well, it's a hell of a story, and I ask people to take a moment and again picture that image that I have of you on your recumbent trike, pedaling in the absolutely middle of nowhere with the backdrop of remote Australia, and just how insignificant you are in that moment compared to the great southern land that you're pedaling across.
Mm.
But you did it, and you went, and it took, and you came back after something horrific that most people would have quit after, but you came back and you did it. And so that's exactly why I wanted to get you back in and to tell that story.
Yeah, and thank you for having me on.
Oh.
And thanks to Dave. But what's Dave doing next?
Oh, I don't know.
I got a bit of music stuff to do, Tommy. I think, and we have to finish off another verse of Riding with Tom, do we?
Yeah.
You can check out some of your music on Tom's 4 Points YouTube page. Of course, David is a musician, which I don't know if we mentioned that at the start, but you've written a bit of stuff. There's some good stuff to see on there. Yep.
There's plenty of other things to do as well. A few community groups, Andy, that I'm in as well.
Yes. We should mention that you're great. You spend your Wednesdays down at Food Bank, which I love.
Oh, yeah. Yep, Food Bank.
That's fantastic. They're a great organisation. So you're a good man, David.
Oh, thanks, mate. So are you.
Yeah. So, Tom, you're still taking donations. This is the big one. So put your hands in your pockets, people. So the 4 Point, is it the4points.org?
The 4points.org, number 4.
Number 4. And if you're watching this, you can sort of see it on all the merchandise that we've got on. And I've got the cap. You can still get merchandise?
Still get merchandise.
There you go.
Still donate. Yeah.
Yep. So you're over 100 grand, but we'd love to get some more in there so that we can raise more awareness and research for stroke, because, as you say, 32% of people who have stroke are under 65, working age.
And then, you want to break that down even further, just the last little spiel. 600 kids of that will suffer a stroke per annum in Australia.
600 kids a year.
Yep. So 1/3 of that will be under the age of 1.
Wow. Well, and these are kids like you, Tom.
Yeah.
A 12-year-old. So it's not as rare as we might think, and we'd like to raise more awareness. So jump on the4points.org and put your hands deep in your pockets and help Tommy finish off the 4 Points campaign with some nice donations. And Tommy, I wish you all the best with that. I hope they can do something good with the money that you've raised, and you should be really proud of what you've done. I'm proud of you for your efforts, and David as well. Thank you so much for your coming in today and for all your efforts with Tom and the crew and getting him around, getting through your little tiffs at times, and you've come out the other end still. We're still speaking to each other. Yeah.
For now.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, guys.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you very much.
This has been the Good People podcast with my guest today, Tommy Quick, who's just finished his 4 Points ride, and David Jones, who spent a lot of time with him during his 4 Points ride around Australia. You can go to that4points.org and see Tommy's ride and make a donation there. If you are listening to this episode and you love it, make sure you tell a friend because that helps us out so much, and it means that we can tell more good stories. If you're on YouTube, you can subscribe to our channel and you can like this video. And again, just keep sharing it with your friends. That lets us to tell more good stories. But until next time, this has been the Good People Podcast.
Well, it's a tip of the cap, it's a pat on the back, it's a smile from ear to ear. They're the good people from round here.